So I often get asked this question, where do I watch Tokusatsu? And well, the answer is a lot of different places. So today we're going to take a look at all the different websites that you can watch Tokusatsu on, be it legally and through other different means. And since I need watch time, we're going to go through some of my personal recommendations. And before I get into anything, you cannot currently legally watch any Kamen Rider or Super Sentai that is currently airing as of this moment, which would of course be Gotchard and Boom Boonger. So to start us off, I'm going to talk about the legal means. Now, there are not that many Rider seasons that you can actually watch legitimately, but as for Sentai, you can watch a pretty good chunk of them. Now, for Rider, you can watch up to 5 seasons legally through streaming services. Now, for those, it would be the original Kamen Rider Kuga, Kamen Rider Ryuki, and Kamen Rider 01, and then my personal favorite, Kamen Rider Geats. Now, Geats is the newest one that is in this lineup. As for Sentai, you can watch pretty much everything up to Zoo Ranger, all the way to, I believe it's Hurricaneger. And then for Ultraman, there's a complete lineup of seasons that you can go and watch. I'm not going to list them all because there's a bunch of them. But all of these will be spread across 4 different services, but they're all linked together. Now, first up, we have Shout.tv. Now, Shout.tv is pretty much the distributor of all of Tokusatsu in the West. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of Shout.tv, personally just because of the whole interface, and it's just hard to look stuff up, and it's not really organized very well, and overall, it's just a terrible website. I would highly recommend using other sites other than Shout.tv, but I'm just listing it here in case you want to check it out. I don't really recommend this at all. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different series on here. I mean, I'm not going to name them all. I mean, you can pretty much see that there is a bunch of Ultraman here, and then a couple of Rider, and then there's some other series that are out there as well, such as, you know, there's Gridman on here, a bunch of stuff. But it does have a bunch of Tokusatsu stuff, and it's all linked together in this one area, at least on the web browser. And then on the TVs, you can use the Shout.tv app. But again, I don't recommend you using Shout.tv. It's a terrible service. Go to other services. Now, when I mentioned that there's a bunch of different services, I mean there's really only 3. And they all will have ads on them. So first off, we have Plex. Personally, this is my favorite site to use just because everything is in one place. You don't have to shuffle around different apps, and it's all linked together. And of course, you can sync up different stuff. Now, I will admit this thing does have a little bit of kinks there that do need to be worked out, but overall, this is a fantastic service. I would definitely recommend it for anybody that is at least wanting to give Tokusatsu a try. Now, next up, we have Pluto TV. Now, Pluto TV is another one that I do like. I personally used it when I first started watching Tokusatsu with 01, and of course, it does have a little bit of other series, but overall, it is not my personal favorite. As I said, Plex is my favorite, but if you're looking for another way to watch Tokusatsu that isn't Plex or the other one that we're going to mention, this one is there. It also does have a bit of other stuff that is available, such as a whole lineup of anime, and it also does have some actual TV on there, such as old Western films and all of that other stuff. So if you are into that, this might be the best thing for you. And then of course we have Tubi. Now Tubi is another one that I used when I was watching 01, just because Pluto wasn't working for a bit, so I just went to Tubi and I finished the series on there. And it also does have the same deal with Pluto.tv, where, you know, it has a bunch of other stuff on there, such as anime and all that, and then they also do have a whole dedicated channel for other stuff. Overall, these are the main 4 ways that people watch Tokusatsu in the West legally, and obviously, as I said, there will be ads in there. They gotta make their money somehow. But now let's get into the more YouTube side. Yes, there's some Tokusatsu on YouTube. And of course, there's Indie Toku as well, so I won't mention those here, but there are Indie Toku if you want to watch those on YouTube as well. But we have the Ultraman franchise. Now, the Ultraman franchise has pretty much every series on their YouTube channel, and they even have it all divided up in playlists, so it makes it super easy to watch Ultraman on here. And I believe that they are currently simul-dubbing the currently airing season of Blazar. I personally am not watching any Ultraman. I haven't actually watched any Ultraman, but I know about this. And obviously, I do want to get into Ultraman eventually, but I don't know where personally to start. So if you guys have any recommendations for Ultraman, let me know down in the comment section below. And like I said, there's a bunch of different Ultraman series on here, a whole backlog, so you can definitely binge through some Ultraman seasons if you want to. And of course, for Blazar, they're simulcasting it and they're dubbing it at the same time. But anyways, that's enough about Ultraman. Let's move on to our next one, being the Power Rangers official YouTube channel. Yes, Power Rangers has the same thing as the Ultraman franchise. Now for Power Rangers, they put up a bunch of different seasons. I think it's everything up to Dino Charge. I'm not so sure about Beast Morphers. Now all the seasons are of course divvied up into their own playlist, so it makes it easy for you to access them, and it's a big freaking catalog, so definitely so much stuff that you can watch on here. Now next up we have the Toei Tokusatsu World official YouTube channel. Now this one I particularly only use if I want to test ride a series, because they only have 2 of the first episodes of all of the series. I think they have everything up to Geats with the first 2 episodes, so Godchart is of course not on here officially, so that's a bummer. But of course you can watch these all legally, and they are subbed, so if you do want to check out that, they're there. But of course there's a bunch of other Tokusatsu stuff on here. They're all in this Heisei Rider playlist, so there's a big chunk of stuff on here if you want to get into some of the older Tokusatsu stuff from the Showa era. So now heading on into more mature Tokusatsu, we have Garo. Now if you don't know what Garo is, it's pretty much a whole different aspect to Tokusatsu. It's going to be very, very mature. I would personally not recommend it for a first Tokusatsu watcher, but if you want to watch it, go watch it. But it's definitely more mature, and they do have a couple of stuff on here. It's not, you know, a wide catalog, but it does have a couple of different seasons on here, at least the first 2 episodes, so I figured I would mention it. It's the same deal with Toei Tokusatsu World, and I imagine they're going to add more stuff as time goes on. Now up next, I do have to mention Crunchyroll. Now Crunchyroll, it doesn't have the main Tokusatsu stuff like the live action and all that stuff, but it does have Futopia. So I figured I would mention Futopia because, well, it technically is Tokusatsu and it's a sequel to Tokusatsu, so I had to mention it. Now obviously I wouldn't recommend this for a newcomer. I would definitely recommend to watch the original series before you get into this, but do what you will. And of course the original series is Kamen Rider Double. Now next up, I do want to mention that you can buy these off of Amazon or Shout Factory, whatever you want to buy them off of. But of course you can buy up to a certain point. As for Sentai, I believe it's everything from Zoo Ranger all the way to Deca Ranger. Now obviously I do think that they're going to add more stuff onto the catalog as time progresses, but for right now everything up to Deca Ranger is at least subtitled and is available for purchase. Now personally for me, I wouldn't buy these just because they are a pretty penny and they're not Blu-ray, so I'm still getting decent quality, but it's obviously not going to be the best quality out there. But of course I do want to mention also Prime Video. Now Prime Video is the same deal as Plex, Shout Factory, all of that, but you do get Shin Kamen Rider. Now Shin Kamen Rider is a movie that came out last year and it did pretty well. It's a part of Anno's whole Shin series. If you're into anything with anime, you probably have heard of the Evangelion 3.0 and all that. That's pretty much a part of the Shin series, so it's here on Prime. If you do want to watch it, I would highly recommend watching it, at least for a newcomer. It is a masterclass experience. Personally not the best out of the Shin series, but it's definitely worth a watch. Now finally, I want to mention Netflix. Now Netflix does have a decent chunk of Power Ranger stuff on their site. Obviously they do have the original Mighty Morphin, but they also have everything from, I believe it's Ninja Steel all the way up, and of course the newest season being Cosmic Fury. But overall, that's all the legal ways that you can watch Tokusatsu. Now we get into the good stuff, being the hush hush stuff. Now, first off, I want to mention Toku Fun. Now, Toku Fun is honestly the easiest way to watch Tokusatsu illegally, but it is subscription-based if you do want to have that premium option. Now, the downside to using Toku Fun is if you don't have the subscription, well, you're going to be waiting for a while to watch your Tokusatsu, and you're going to have to download them onto your hard drive. And also, some of the download links don't even work. Now, for me, I do like the interface of Toku Fun. It's very easy to work around and, of course, to find stuff. So, if you do want to watch some of Toku and you don't mind doing wait times, this might be the best option. Anyways, moving on, we have Tokuzilla. Now, for Tokuzilla, I personally do not like anything about this site. It's probably the most clunkiest, unorganized site I have ever seen. Literally, you'd have no organization. If I were to go here and click on Kamen Rider, pretty much I would have to circle through all of these different shows and potentially get spoiled on stuff if I were to go in here. And of course there is a search site, but it's again, it's just a hassle, and honestly it's just a terrible interface in my opinion. But overall, it does have a bunch of different tokusatsu on there, and some of them are older and some of them are more underground, but overall overall, you do have a bunch of more tokusatsu on here. And also, one other gripe about it is that it does have varied quality. Some stuff will be 1080p, 4K, but some of it will also be like 240p. And honestly, it's just like, why would I even watch it at that point if it's that low quality? So also, you will get ads, of course, here. And overall, just it's not a pleasant experience for me. But if you don't like Tokufun, of course, this is a secondary option. Now, next up is the one that I also don't like, being Kiss Asian. Now, not only is Kiss Asian not up to date, but it is also very, very ridden with ads. Like, if I didn't have my ad blocker on, I would be getting a whole bunch of ads and pop-ups. Also, it's not even up to date. Like, Gotchard's out, and we don't even have Gotchard on here. We don't even have Geets on here. So, again, not a very good website overall. But my personal favorite out of all of these, which you do have to use torrents for, is Naya.c, otherwise known as the cat site. Now, the caveat, of course, with Naya is that you have to use torrents. Now, with torrents, you do have to have seeders. And in order to download something, you have to have a seed. And sometimes some shows won't have seeds, but overall, this is honestly the best way to watch something. And it's also so simple to look stuff up. Like, I can literally look up Geets, or I can look up, Kamen Rider build, and I can get all these different stuff. And of course, it will say like, hey, this is subbed, or this is a raw file. So, and you always want to go for the subtitled file. Now, what I will say about the other three is that they do steal subs from people and make a profit onto them. So that's why I personally just say use Naya and use torrents. But of course, if you got to do what you got to do, use the other services. Now, I do want to mention how you can watch these. You can watch these through using VLC, or you can, of course, use Plex. Now, Plex is by far, again, the best thing that you could use for a Tokusatsu fan. So basically what you have to do is link up a whole folder that you store all your Tokusatsu stuff in. And you will basically have to divvy it up by which series you're watching. Sometimes it doesn't register it, so you do have to play around with it. But overall, you do get to use the service, and it tracks where you left off, and it will have like a skip intro button, a skip credits. Overall, this is honestly my favorite service to use. It's awesome and it's amazing. And of course, it does have a TV app, so you can use that to watch stuff on your TV. So overall, Plex is my favorite, but of course there is VLC if you do want to use it. Now for recommendations, I'm going to spread them through legally and illegally. Now for legally, I would recommend 01, Geets, and Ryuki. Now all three are considered kind of newer series to the franchise. The newest, of course, being Geets. And for Geets, it's pretty much a battle royale. Think of Fortnite, but more of a Kamen Rider twist to it. Now for 01, it's pretty much AI versus humans, and it's pretty much a whole drama. Definitely go and check it out. But for Ryuki, it's pretty much a death game, and I've heard nothing but good things about Ryuki. Definitely a good series, I've heard. But overall, all three series are amazing. Definitely go and give them a watch. Now for Sentai, I would recommend Kaku Ranger and Hurricaneer. Both series I've heard nothing but good things about, so definitely go and check those out if you have not already. Now as for Ultraman, of course, I am not very well versed in the Ultraman space, but I've heard nothing but good things about Blazar, so go and check out Blazar. Now for the illegal means, I would definitely recommend you watch the currently airing seasons, being Gotchard and Bunbuncher. Gotchard is pretty much Pokemon, Digimon, basically on crack. Now for Gotchard, it does have a slow start, but it does pick up steam around the, I would say, episode 12, episode 13 part of the series. And right now we're in the climax of the whole entire second arc, but I most definitely do recommend you watch Gotchard. Now as for Bunbuncher, we're only 3 episodes in, but I would highly recommend you watch it. So far, it's been a great time. Every episode has had me laughing. It's basically bringing Sentai back to its roots, but overall I do like where the series is going, and I hope to see that the series gets better and better as we go through the next couple of episodes. But outside of the currently airing stuff, I would definitely recommend Kamen Rider Build. Now Kamen Rider Build is pretty much one of, if not the best stories that Kamen Rider has ever had. If I could summarize Kamen Rider Build, it would be human experimentations with Civil War aspects, and honestly, it's just a trip. Definitely go and watch it. Now up next, I have Kamen Rider X8. Now X8 is pretty much doctors and gamers, and it's just a trip. Honestly, it's a storyline that pretty much just grows on top of each other, and personally, I just finished watching X8, so definitely would recommend it 100%. But of course, I do have to recommend Kamen Rider Double. Now, Kamen Rider Double was personally my first tokusatsu series. I watched it because Futopia was coming out, and I was heavily interested in Futopia, so I figured might as well get the original story out of the way. And I absolutely fell in love with the whole entire franchise of tokusatsu, so yeah. And then lastly, for Rider, I want to recommend Den-O. Den-O is honestly just a trip, and it has good comedy, and it has good suit acting. Overall, I would recommend you watch it just because they are reoccurring a lot, like a lot. But that's it for Rider. Now let's get into Sentai. Now, as for Sentai, I would definitely recommend King Ultra. Honestly, it's just a fantasy take on the whole Sentai formula. Honestly, it's an amazing series. Probably one of the best Sentais out there in my opinion. But I do want to mention my first Sentai, being Q-Ranger. Now, Q-Ranger has a wide cast and let every single one of the characters actually have growth. But in all honesty, it's an amazing series. And then obviously, I do want to recommend my favorite Sentai, being Tokushoutsu. Now, Tokushoutsu, it is a bit wacky, I'm not going to lie, but I do recommend it 100%. I'm currently doing a rewatch of it. Honestly, I really enjoy it. I like the characters, I like the plot. It's overall just an amazing Sentai. Definitely go and watch Tokushoutsu. But if none of these tickle your fancy, just go with whatever looks cool to you. You can pretty much figure out what's going on in each season without watching the previous one. And don't listen to what people say about anniversary seasons. But anyways, if you guys have not already, go ahead and smash that like button down below and click subscribe with notifications on. I have a bunch of different content in the works and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. But without further ado, I'm gonna get the heck out of here. I'm Foul Place and I'm out. Peace.